Ladies and gentlemen, this for a Gaming Tentacon video. We're going to be talking about Warlords of Draenor. I'm sure many of you have heard that it's going to be the next WoW expansion. And I've been reading through the various bits and bobs, and to be honest, it's looking quite interesting. So we're going to be going over the major highlights in this video in case you're unaware of it, and I'm going to throw out some thoughts as I'm a former WoW player. I used to be very into the game up until about Cataclysm, and then let's just say some parts really kind of put me off. But anyway, it is going to be kind of a time travel kind of expansion. So you're going to be going back to Draenor. Now, Draenor is actually Outlands, which obviously got destroyed through a chain of events, and that's going to be explored in Warlords. And so when you go back in time, which is going to be following Garrosh, you're going to be, of course, leveling all the way up to 100, and it's looking to be a very interesting experience. Now, they have said that the talent system, for those of you who missed the old talents, the old style talents that were, up until, say, Mists, then, unfortunately, you're kind of SOL. Basically, Blizzard have said that they're very happy with the current talent system, and they said that it needs some tweaks because obviously there's some issues. Like, for example, one talent tier, it may just be that there's only really one good one, or at some tiers there's not really any good talents whatsoever, so you just kind of pick from a bunch of crappy talents, depending obviously on your spec and everything else. Regardless, the level 100 talents are looking quite interesting. I'm going to throw out, I'm sorry, I'm having one of those days where I just can't seem to speak properly. I'm going to throw out just a couple of them. With the Death Knight, for example. By the way, of course, these are still being decided. So the damage could change, the entire talent could change. You guys get the idea. It's still an alpha. So Defile, for example, has been added, which is going to cost 1 Unholy Rune, 30-yard range, instant 30-second cooldown, and that, of course, is very much like the Lich King ability, which caused much anger and rage and tears when, of course, they were trying to defeat Arethas back in the day. Meanwhile, if you were to look at, say, the Warlock, you have the ability to, let's say, Demonic Servitude, which is passive, and you are now able to maintain control over greater demons indefinitely. So you're able to continue and control things such as Doom Guards and Infernals and whatever else, much to your happiness. Warriors, meanwhile, have Extreme Measures. Obviously, these are just one of the talents for the class. I'm not going to go through all of them because they're a bucket load, but Extreme Measures have been added, and Arms of Fury get Masochism, and that's instant, and it will deal damage to yourself equals to 20% of your maximum health, and you gain Rage from that. I'm guessing, since the value is 30, that it's a placeholder, and they're probably going to change that. Meanwhile, Protection gets what's known as Gladiator Stance, and they define it as a dauntless combat stance. It increases all of your damage done by 20%, and also causes a Shield Slam to consume Shield Barrier as additional damage. And you have an increased chance to critically strike equal to your critical block chance, which is pretty awesome, in my personal opinion. I'm going to go to just one more. I'm just going to click a random one of the probably more popular classes. Let us go with Mage. Prolonged Exposure, Arcane, you get Arcane Overpower. It's passive. Casting Arcane Missiles, for example, extends Arcane Power by 2 seconds. With Fire, you get Kindling, which increases the extent of combustion by 1 second. And Frost, meanwhile, if you cast Ice Lance, extends Icy Veins by 2 seconds. So that just gives you an idea of what they're doing with the talent trees. Let's discuss a few other bits and bobs. So, what they are talking about, of course, is that they have no plans to go free to play. That is not on the cards. They still have well over 7 million subs, and they feel pretty confident, if you read between the lines, that they are going to be indeed getting more subs back. Mists of Pandaria was kind of like Marmite. Some people loved it, some people not so much. But I think some of the threads and the comments that I've been reading through, they've been somewhat upset that there's no extra classes or extra races, but I think Blizzard are using this expansion as kind of like a fixer, and they're like, you know what, let's not add in another class without trying to balance the other ones. And obviously they've got some really large issues with PvP right now and so on, and they do have much better models. I've got to say the models actually look pretty reasonable. WoW's models, we're kind of getting to the point where new gamers, if you hadn't played WoW and you looked at the graphics, you were like, I can't really take this seriously, when there's other games like Guild Wars, which looks beautiful. I mean, I've got issues against Guild Wars 2 personally. I can't get into the game. I've tried a couple of times. I just don't really like the classes. That's just a personal opinion, of course. That's not saying the game's bad. But they've also said that the Blackrock Foundry for the raids will be the second raid available on release, at the center of the Iron Horde, and it has 10 bosses in 3 wings, and it will be non-linear. They say they actually really like the feeling of looking down in BRD or UBRS, and seeing more of the area. And you'll also be able to raid with similar flexibility in boss order in flex raid mode now as well. They're also going to be doing things such as changing the difficulty system. Now, how this is going to work is, and I quote, "The new normal will be as difficult as flex is today. The new heroic will be as difficult as normal. And then there'll also be mythic. Mythic will be as difficult as heroic." Which I'm sure there's going to be some complaints on this, but, you know, I just guess that's how they want to do it. Raid Finder, meanwhile, will be the only kind of raid you can queue for now. A normal, current flexible mode will require you to zone in, so in other words, you have to kind of just walk in there. They also want the world to be much more dynamic than what it is right now. Now, as I said, on Draenor, it's an entire planet, so for example, areas like the Hellfire Peninsula are not going to look like they would have. You know, areas that were once burning or, you know, hellish are now going to be like, you know, lush tropical forests, because before basically Draenor got shattered into a billion different pieces and, you know, blew to smithereens. So what they are saying is that the quest chains that are important and have important lore and story will be indicated with an icon. So in other words, if you just want to go to the, you know, the really important quests and understand what the hell's going on, it's going to be marked. And I actually really approve of that, because, you know, fetching 10 boar livers is not important to the storyline, but sometimes it's a bit difficult to understand that, and with the quest chains that are changing as well, I really like that. They're really focusing on making the world more dynamic and less predictable, which I'm quite liking, actually. I'm really liking. They've also stated, and this one's quite curious, that they are not interested in doing daily quests at level 100. There will be very few or none at all. And they're also focusing on adding more max level content than ever before. And people really liked patch 5.1, they said, as well as the Timeless R reward system. And this will be combined to create big zones with long progressive storylines. And there'll also be some environmental gameplay. Similar to Troves, it gives you opportunity to use your class skills that would normally not use to earn rewards. This is one of the major reasons that WoW has been bleeding subs, because what happened? I mean, obviously, some people may have just unsubscribed because, I don't know, their PC blew up. But other people got to max level, they did LFR or whatever they were doing. You know, they saw that boss for the tier, and then they said, well, nothing to do here, quite literally. And then they ignited their subscription jetpack because they just felt like there was not much else to do outside of raids. And Blizzard got a lot of complaints with what people consider to be grinding, and I can kind of understand that. Garrisons, meanwhile, are going to be the new shiners. When you build your garrison, you got a few starting buildings, and you'll, for example, the town hall and so on. This is going to be very similar to say, housing, which has been one of those things that players have been asking for and asking for and asking for. You're going to be able to, for example, some buildings will allow you to assign followers to them, and if you find a miner, he can work while you're actually offline. So in other words, you can just send the little fella out, and he'll be mining away quite happily while you're just offline doing whatever your work, which is quite nice. I'm unsure how much management time this is actually really going to take. I personally, I didn't actually like a lot of that stuff in WoW. I'll just be honest. I'm one of those people that went in. I love doing questing. I love finding bits and pieces, you know, kind of exploring the areas, especially before flying mounts. It kind of had that much more of an epic feeling, in my opinion, going behind or going on top of the waterfall, near Stormwind and everything else. But suffice to say that I really liked the exploration side of things. I really liked the raiding and so on. But things such as the mini games and everything else, I wasn't that too keen on. So I guess we're just going to have to see. Meanwhile, World of Warcraft, they claim, is going to be a game you play with your friends, and WOD will remove the barriers to stop you playing with your friends and encourage you to make new friends. There's going to be new matchmaking systems. By the way, there's also going to be the ability to level instantly one class to 90. Now, of course, what you're going to say to me is, well, that's nice, but what happens if, let's say you've never played a mage before, and let's say you decide to level that mage to 90 instantly? What the hell? You know, well, basically it's going to be introduced very much like a Death Knight. So you're going to get your abilities slowly over time, and so you won't just have this situation where, oh crap, I have no idea what button is, and that was like the worst feeling. You know, if you got boosted a lot, and I kind of did this back in the day when like 80 was the highest level. I had, you know, some friends that were kind of boosting me through some dungeons, and I was just like, okay, this is great. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, I was playing a rogue, funnily enough, and I was like, okay, well, I have absolutely no idea how to combo anything, and I was quite high level at this point. And it took, you know, a bit of research on my part rather than naturally learning, you know, the timings and so on, how to apply combo points and whatever else. They're also stating that they're going to be changing a lot of the itemization. They want to make it a lot more interesting. For example, hit, expertise are gone. Also, dodge and parry is gone, and reforging is gone. That's right, it is nuked. It is no longer available. Reforging had been one of those new things that was added into the game, and people just... It didn't really become this thing where it was actually quite interesting. It was just becoming more and more and more... well, okay, well, may as well just get any piece of gear that we need and then just reforge it to the best ability. It was just kind of a boring thing. It was no longer interesting. Another very odd one is the stats on armor will now change based upon your spec. Plate drops and will have whatever stats your class needs. So in other words, if you're a warrior, you don't have to worry, oh really, this has got intellect on it. No more PvP priest healing sets and PvP priest DPS sets. It's just a priest set, so it will automatically change based upon the spec that you are going with. And armor will become a good tanking stat, and spirit will be very good for healers, for example. Jewellery, cloaks and trinkets and weapons will have more of a role focused on and might keep stats. They're also saying that there are going to be certain bonuses that are going to appear on gear that doesn't count towards the item level budget. For example, lifesteal, avoidance, sturdiness, movement speed, which by the way will stack with other bonuses, cleave and so on. Cleave, for example, obviously one obvious one would be that you'll be able to attack a couple of targets at once, but you'll also be able to spill healing over to multiple people as well. But your relative power won't change, just the numbers, the speed at which you kill things won't change. You can still solo old content, and this is from, get ready, the item squish. all of the big jumps from the old expansions and the raid tiers will be flattened, so you're no longer going to be hitting for 1 trillion damage. So in short, the lives are going to go back down to a more reasonable number. Some people really wanted that, other people not so much. I guess it depends, but you're not going to suddenly become really weak. So in other words, if you were really happy to solo, say, Black Temple on Draenor, or should I say Outland, then you are most welcome to do so, good sir. In the next expansion, you will feel just as powerful as you ever did. They're just trying to fix the numbers. Anyway, I think that's just about it for this particular video. It's been a kind of an itsy-bitsy one, but I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.